So it's principle based, and it's existed even in the Bible. It alludes to this, belief or not. The only difference is back then, for each nation, they had their own bank for international settlement that determined their own currency. Because the Bank for International Settlement in today's world is owned by the same people who own central banks. And they have a lot of military powers. Back then, the concept of power exchange and separation of powers was a bit more even. So long as a nation or a country had its own military, it was able to create its own bank for international settlement and thus created its own currency. This is why in the ancient world, you will see different currencies spent in the same country. It's not the same as you see in today's world, where only countries where their financial stability has been cooled will you ever see them spend their currency there and dollar. Back in Mesopotamia, they had temples that played the role of bank for international settlement. Back in Roman Empire, they had something called Argentari. Back in the medieval era, they had the Medici family. And all these particular affirmation named in that respective era were just treasuries. So naturally speaking, a treasury will be the one creating the currency for any given country or body polity. But when a treasury is usurped by one party who goes here and goes there, they all centralize it into their power for the purpose of their control. So if you want to create your own currency that is functionally acknowledged through your own trust, there's a system you go through the Bank for International Settlement. The only reason why I'm even mentioning this is because the issue has come up. This is the first time I've ever heard this, where someone promises someone else that you can create your own currency and they just took the money and ran away. Literally. When you hear Elon Musk saying he wants to issue his own currency, when you hear John McAfee say he wants to issue his own currency, or whenever you hear anyone who is engaging in some type of digital currency like Facebook wants to issue their own currency, it's not just through any local banks. It's not through central banks. It's not through Federal Reserve. It's through the Bank for International Settlement that they do that. The concept where different currencies can be spent in one particular nation or state or country, absent of usurpation blatantly through military powers, is what they're trying to resurrect now. But they're trying to do it through a control grid of digital world, whereby that which will inspect and control people would directly be embedded into the interface of that digital world itself. It's not going to be something physical. The camp people speak of people going, that's not a physical thing. It's a digital one. The securities that will keep people there are those AIs embedded into all these websites. You need to see the reality of how this works beyond some book written in the 1900s. It's the same concept, but far more advanced than you can ever imagine. Meanwhile, look, here's the Federal Reserve routing number, they tell you. When in truth, that is their intellectual property. Once you have your own intellectual property, the one you go to is the Bank for International Settlements. To do all that discharge, people are looking in the wrong place. Let me point you to the right direction. About last year or 2 years ago, I made the Bob and Larry video as part of the PPM series that breaks down in layman terms that's easy to comprehend as to how monetization of people's interest really works, but placed in layman terms without going over people's head with a bunch of buzzwords, subrogate, as cheat. Those are just terms. Look at the function of it. See this as an extension of the Bob and Larry video that merges with the other PPM videos. Whenever that bank does what they do with Bob and Larry and all the other parties involved, in order for them to even be able to turn that into money that they can use as slush funds, At some point, it goes to the central bank, then the Federal Reserve, and ends with a bank for international settlement. When people tell you to settle the claim, let me give you a little secret here. For the most part, I don't like considering information secret because I really think things are mysterious and secret until you know about it, or because you don't know about it is the reason why they're secret. But this really is secret, because even if you look online and listen to all these wealthy people speaking about money with the cloud of politics of who they like, whose face, whose personality, even though they're all the same, one thing they would never touch on is the Bank for International Settlement. You will hear IMF, you hear Federal Reserve, you hear Central Bank, but you will never hear Bank for International Settlement. Do you know the reason why? This is the entity that settles all financial claim. It is even blatantly in their name, Bank for International Settlement. The Bank for International Settlement, BIS, is an international financial institution which is owned by members' central banks. So for each central banks that exist in the world, there are many different central banks. There's one in Minneapolis here in the United States. There's one in New York. There's a total of about 113 or so of them. And each of those 113 central banks owns interest in the BIS itself. It tells you here, which is owned by members' central banks. Members, meaning more than one of them. Which of those central banks control the currency. You'll get to a point in the use of your trust and monetization where you stand at a crossroad. Where you're coming from is behind you. There's a path in front of you. There's a path to your right and there's a path to your left. You have a chance to return and reset. And it will be given to you. Or you have a path to go forward immediately in front of you. By fettering the value of those trust certificate unit to the currency of the country's leading power. At this point, it's the dollar. Or go to the right and expect that another currency, say the dinar or the yuan or whatever they spend in Russia, and tether your trust denomination to that. Or you go to the left and separately create yours. Under the condition that you have to wait 10 years, a decade. This is the rule they made. I didn't make this rule. It's not a law. It's not a legislature. It's an internal policy. You have to wait a decade before you can start using that currency itself. But when you start using it, you use it in a limited manner only with the government to enrich that particular government. Only with governmental entities and governmental contracts. So you see those options. You have to go to the source of the problem to separate future generations from it. That's the reason why it's called Bank for International Settlement. The bullshit that they've put everyone in the world into by waging all these wars and then eating on the people of the nation that they're from because they know that they cannot bully others in the world anymore. All that is settled using this system called Bank for International Settlements. Whereby families now are segmented away from that. When you see privileged families, they went through the Bank for International Settlements for them to be that way. Where you think, man, it looks like they're functioning outside of the system. Sure, if you want to use a dollar, you can. But you can still function outside of it. It's called settlement. The moment you add that proxy into your trust, it is classified as an international organization. The BIS is based in Basel, Switzerland, with representatives in Hong Kong and Mexico City. There's a post that I have made called The Structure, the Intent, the Issue, the birth certificate. Read that post. It'll give you a better comprehension of how this works. The way that the banks for international settlement would interface with you is as an unlisted public company. An unlisted public company, also known as unquoted public company, is a public company that is not listed on any stock exchange. Let me pause there. When it says public company, it's not referring to LLCs, nor is it using the word public the way we colloquially use it as public versus private. Public here is being used to be synonymous with international. This enables it to raise finance by the issuing and sale of shares to the public. One of the basic requirements that you would eventually find out when it comes to having your own currency, your own trust, is they would want you to make it available to the public for use, but not directly, but through the government of that country. AKA the public, because the government is assumed to be a representative of that public, AKA the people. They will need your constitution for that. This enables it to raise finance by the issuing and sale of the shares to the public, such as through advertising, but without listing it on an exchange. Such as through advertising, but without listing on exchange. Oh my God. This is a reality that all those people speaking about the Federal Reserve routing number, all that speculation stuff, this is the stuff that they're looking for. I recall my dad, when he's trying to explain certain things to me and I don't get it, he will say, "Look at yourself. Look at you." That's what I think. That's what I think when I see these people on social media. I think to myself, look at yourself. You just can't help but look at these people. They don't get it. Look at you. People don't get it. But all this information is in public domain nonetheless. This is how you make your own currency for your own trust. If you want it to be viable, where... Hey, I'm inviting you to come join the patron page. Not only do you get access to documents, posts, and videos that you will never find on any other platforms, you also get instant access to webinars that otherwise will cost far more. And we speak of things that usually we would not be able to speak of on any other platforms far more freely. On top of that, you get the opportunity to send me monthly questions